Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn program, Talking Bayside Tuesday. Today's topic is Bayside Council's Inclusion Planning and International Day of People with Disabilities. Please note this session will be recorded and will be available on our Have Your Say platform. In a moment, I'll hand over to today's presenter, Kylie Mclennan, who is our Positive Ageing Specialist at Bayside Council. First, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Bayside, the Gadigal Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation. The people of the Eora Nation and their spirits and ancestors will remain within our waterways and the land our Mother Earth. I'd also like to acknowledge that I am today working on the land of the Darug and Gundungurra peoples, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. If you have any questions or comments throughout the session, please type them into the chat along with your email, and these will be forwarded on to the appropriate people in Council to respond within 7 working days. I'll now hand over to you, Kylie. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay, great. I'll let you know when it started.
I might do advanced actually, so. There we go.
Great.
I might do presenter view just so I can see my notes. There we go. Can you see?
Yep, that looks great.
Slides? Great. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. As Kelsey said, I'm Kylie Mclennan, Positive Ageing Specialist at Bayside Council, and I'm going to talk to you today about International Day of People with Disability and the Bayside Inclusion Action Plan. International Day of People with Disability is held on the 3rd of December each year. It is aimed at increasing public awareness, understanding and acceptance of people with disability. The Australian government has been supporting this day since 1966, I think it was. I think my mouse disappeared. 1996, and provides funds to promote and raise awareness of the day and support activities around Australia. Information about how you can get involved and help break down barriers for people with disability can be found on the website, which is www.idpwd.com.au. So now I will just show a short video from their website. Hopefully this works. All right, Kelsey, can you see what I'm?
Your screen isn't sharing just yet. There we go. And there we go. Great.
I think it's important we celebrate International Day of People with Disability because for every person I've met that's living with a disability, there's an incredible story.
The reason International Day of People with Disability is important is because it reminds us to create equitable platforms for all aspects of life in our society.
It doesn't inspire people to want to get up and make a difference.
I think it's important we celebrate International.
All right. So I'll go back to sharing my presentation now. Sorry. Are we back there, Kelsey?
Yep, that's great.
Yeah. Okay. So Council has a long history of working to remove barriers to access and inclusion in the local community. In 2014, the New South Wales Government introduced the Disability Inclusion Act, which required all councils in New South Wales to develop disability inclusion plans in consultation with people with lived experience of disability. Bayside Council's first DAP was adopted in July of 2017 after extensive community engagement with people with disability, their carers and families, as well as community services, peak bodies and other government agencies. The plan details commitments and actions under a few key focus areas which are prescribed by the New South Wales Government, and they are building livable communities, improving systems and processes, supporting access to meaningful employment, and promoting positive attitudes and behaviours. So I will be sharing a few key achievements from this plan a bit later in my presentation. I should also mention that due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and public health orders, New South Wales councils were given an additional year to review and renew their inclusion plans. So we are now currently in the process of reviewing and updating our plan in consultation with the Bayside community. So this is the project timeline. We have already undertaken a full 12 months of community engagement, and I will detail what we did for that a bit later in the presentation. And we have almost finished drafting the new inclusion action plan, which will reflect the feedback we received from the community. And we aim to put the draft plan on public exhibition between the end of January and the end of March. And this will be your next opportunity to have a say and shape the future plan. And then based on feedback from that round of consultation, we'll update the plan again and then hopefully put it to council for adoption in June of next year. Okay, so let's talk about our first plan and what we achieved. I've kind of grouped all of the achievements under the 4 focus areas for you. The first area of building livable communities, council built and upgraded a range of community facilities and playgrounds to meet improved access standards, and we also made our beaches more inclusive with the addition of a beach wheelchair at Ramsgate Beach. I'll list a few other examples as well. So we upgraded Botany Town Hall with a lift and accessible toilet and ramp. Hillsdale Community Centre received new accessible toilet facilities. AS Tanner Reserve now has an accessible archery facility, which is really exciting. And Arncliffe Youth Centre also has a new accessible facility. Our library extended its home library service to include 4 additional nursing homes. This is where staff take physical resources for residents to access library materials and reading aids for people with sight impairment. And Hillsdale Childcare Centre was accredited as an inclusive service for children with additional needs. And we were successful in acquiring funding from the Inclusion Support Program for children with disability or undergoing diagnosis. And as I mentioned earlier, Council partnered with the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club to provide a beach wheelchair at Ramsgate Beach. This wheelchair was donated to us by the St George Special School. Under systems and processes, Council has proved the accessibility of its information, communication methods and engagement processes. We added the Browse Aloud widget to Council's website, which is an assistive technology that turns text into speech, changes font sizes, translates language, and has a simplified tool. All our online engagement projects identify people living with disability to understand any different outcomes and needs. Our engagement website, which is Have Your Say Bayside, adheres to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We also provide easy read surveys where appropriate, and hard copies of surveys are made available upon request. Staff contact details are always provided so that community members can opt to speak to us in person or over the phone if they find that easier. Council also continued to actively resource and participate in local disability forums, including co-convening the Bayside, Georges River and Sutherland Shire Disability Interagency. Under accessing meaningful employment, Council continued to provide employment opportunities for people with disability and maintain accessible recruitment processes. Council staff are offered training in disability awareness, and workplace adjustments are made available to staff with disability, and staff are supported through the Employment Assistance Program. Bayside Garden Centre has partnered with the Disability Foundation of St George to offer supported employment opportunities for people with intellectual disability. And under promoting positive attitudes and behaviours, we undertook a range of events and projects and provided grant opportunities to local services to achieve this outcome. Council initiated Bayside Women's Week in 2020, hosting a cross-generational panel on leadership and featured a panel member living with disability from a refugee background. Council hosted live screenings of the Access All Areas Film Festival for International Day of People with Disability in 2018 and 19. Council supported and hosted a peer-to-peer cafe, which is an online social network for people with disability in the East. And that was in celebration of International Day of Disability last year. Council annually hosts Sculptures by Bayside, and accessible tours are made for people with disabilities and older residents. Council provides an annual community grant, as I mentioned before, to community organisations. In 2021, Council supported Wing Gap's initiative for the International Day of People with Disability, which was an accessible arts market. And there is a few more there. Oh, look, one more. I'll mention one more. The Disability Yes project, from youth to community youth service in Brighton, engaged local young people with disability to conduct an access audit of Rockdale Library. So as I said, we've already undertaken the first round of community consultation, and which ran from September 2020 to September 2021. The process was heavily impacted by COVID-19 and public health orders. So face-to-face engagement was undertaken where it was possible and safe to do so. However, many activities were facilitated online and over the phone, or in hard copy as well. So despite the challenges presented by the pandemic, there was still a high level of interest and participation from people with disability and key stakeholders. So some key activities that we undertook was we engaged young people to undertake an access audit of Rockdale Library. We ran an online consultation. This was facilitated by a consultant and with the local disability interagency, and 40 industry providers were represented at that consultation. We ran 4 internal council workshops and an online survey on Have Your Say. And an easy read translation of the Have Your Say survey was promoted to groups with intellectual disability. We also ran 3 face-to-face workshops with key service providers, and a meeting with Bluefit, who operate Bexley Aquatic Centre, and 3 online interviews with Mood Active, Vision Australia and Spinal Cord Injuries Australia. So of all the feedback we received, the main themes that came out were accessible toilets, accessible information, accessible parks, facilities and local businesses, council staff training, promoting progress and achievements of the plan, establishment of a local inclusion reference group, accessible arts and culture, and promoting inclusive attitudes and behaviours. Right, so next steps. Council will be aiming to place the draft inclusion action plan on public exhibition early next year. You can register to be kept up to date on the progress of the project and be notified when the plan goes on exhibition at haveyoursay.bayside.nsw.gov.au. So I just say thanks for joining us and look out for the next opportunity to have your say on the Bayside Inclusion Action Plan. And just one more before I hand over to Kelsey, sorry. If you have any questions and we can't get to them today, you can always contact Council's Community Life team on 9366 3685. Thank you.